I might die tonight, but if I do, I'ma be okay. And if I die tonight, at least I stood by the stuff I said. I got 2 graves dug, one for me and one for the motherfucker standing in my way. And if I die tonight, at least I can say I never ran away.
Hey, it's Dig 2 Graves creator, Jim Tanner.
Hello, everybody.
With our funky intro and everything. This is Creators Outlet. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome a week late.
Yeah.
Double booking. It's not like I can say anything because I have done that myself once or 3 times.
Yeah, I was writing down stuff thinking I was doing a good job of keeping track, and I was like a day off on it seems like 3 of them. I'm like, oh, that'll teach me.
I have to actually get one of those books again because I'm getting like so many people responding between the Outright Geekery message boards and my messages and other people referring people being like, hey, I know this guy, he's got a book, he's looking for podcasts to come on. Can you, yeah, sure, just have him hit me up on Twitter. It's like, yeah, cool. Okay, cool. So we are here, and before we get into the book, Jim, we are also a podcast, so anybody listening to the podcast, anywhere you can download a podcast from later on tonight, please share this out and introduce yourself to our listening audience.
For everybody listening, my name is Jim Tanner. I am the writer and creator of the book Dig 2 Graves, an upcoming book called The Hell Writer. And right now I currently have Dig 2 Graves, the graphic novel, on Indiegogo, and just trying to get the word out about it.
And of course, I'm your host, Will, and you know my voice and probably have nightmares about it. So we will go from there, and let's get a little background on you how you got into comics and what first drew you to the medium. And
So I was about 8, maybe 7 or 8 when I got my first comic. It was Amazing Spider-Man, I believe it was. And it was just I didn't read a lot at that point as a kid, and then I realized when I saw comics I wanted to read, and my parents encouraged it because anything to get a child reading, and it just, I don't know, something about it just caught my imagination. I loved comics, and then around the early '90s, when Image hit, I was just all in. Everything Jim Lee touched, I had to have, and I pretty much had every Image book for the first 2 years. I don't know. It just caught me at that point. I loved it. I loved the stories. I loved writing my own versions and trying to draw my own comics as best as I could around that time.
And when did you first start seriously writing?
So I'd always enjoyed writing. I started, like I said, around that. I was about 10 or so, maybe about 9 when I first started writing my own comics. Like I said, for fun, I tried to draw them. But that kind of grew as I got, as I kept going. I started writing short stories. I started writing screenplays. And then I got back into seriously writing comics in the early 2000s. I had stories that I liked, and I wanted to be able to, wanted to share them and bring them to life. And I always enjoyed the medium of comics and the way the stories are told. So I just, I wanted to take my stories that maybe like I had originally, envisioned as, either a novel or a screenplay or something, and kind of format those to fit into comics. And so I started doing it then. The original series I started around 2004 or 5 was called Rebel Yell. Was the first books I self-published. And then just kind of just grew from there. So, and ever since.
So how many books do you have published currently?
Currently, not as many as I would have liked. This is about number 4 or 5. The Rebel. So I originally wrote easier one to do at the time. So I kind of put it aside. And then we did a few of those. And that's kind of what I learned on is getting those books done. You look back, you're like, ooh, I would definitely do those differently. And then I came back to Dig 2 Graves around 2015, 2016. to get this going again. And then it's been a long story or a long journey with a lot of different ups and downs going on with it. So,
well, let's see. When you started writing this book, my daughter was being born.
yeah,
And when you came back to this book, I was in a coma. So
that's a big difference.
I was almost in a grave. Many times over, actually. But, it's just like a weird experience. All in all, I've been writing stuff, mostly trying to exorcise the demons from the coma in the period coming out of the coma, which put me into anxiety, depression, and PTSD. Because that's a fun mix.
Yeah, I can imagine a coma would have a pretty jarring effect on somebody.
Yeah, it didn't help. All the surgeries they did on me, the amount of pain that I was in. They had me on a double morphine drip. Morphine is either your friend or is not your friend. Morphine is not my friend.
Yeah, I've only had it once, and I remember it hurt like hell when I got it. And I'm like, man, I don't see why people like this stuff, because it did not feel good.
Oh, I felt the pain, but not as much as I would have without it. But it had me, as the kids used to say back in our day, tripping balls. I was straight up hallucinating, like 24/7.
Yeah, that's pretty extreme.
Yeah, I thought at one point I thought I was the Joker ripping out Harley Quinn's throat, and they had to do, because I wasn't able to breathe on my own. They had to do a tracheotomy on me, and I in turn was not ripping out Harley Quinn's throat or anybody else's except my own, because I ripped out my own tracheotomy and threw it across the room, which set off some bells and whistles. And then they realized I was breathing fine on my own, and then everything started going in an upward swing, which brought me back to comics and getting all my stuff back. And I was in a rehab hospital for almost 3 years, so it gave me time to think and read a little bit. I had some good friends that sent me some comic book care packages from around the country, so I had stuff to read. So one of the books I was sent, oddly enough, was Kevin Smith's Green Arrow trade, the Quiver story.
Yeah,
which basically deals with Oliver. You're dead, and now somehow you're in heaven. And I'm like, oh, this is a little too trippy for me. I got to read something else. Back when I still liked Kevin Smith, before he, turned into a politician for Netflix and just, lied to us and decided nothing mattered because Netflix has 123 million subscribers, so they don't care.
Oh, the He-Man thing?
Yeah. So that was that. Why don't you give us the elevator pitch for the Dig Two Graves graphic novel?
So I've been working on this. So like I always tell people, I'm the worst at the elevator pitch. Like I'll sit at Comic Cons and people come by and say, "What's it about?" And I'm always like, "Well, so," and then like 10 minutes later, it's like I'm finishing up. So I've tried to make it super quick. I tell people, I'll say Kill Bill and meets Mad Max with a dash of noir, because that seems to be the most succinct way of putting it. It's a gritty revenge tale that I'm trying to get out there. Very reminiscent of the old 70s, 80s tales, but I realize as I get older, people don't always go back and watch the old movies like I do.
Yeah, it's I do, because I refuse to pay for a streaming service. So I watch everything on like Pluto and Tubi and a few other services, and I mean, I like the old movies. I mean, I've gone back for free and watched all of the Death Wish movies. So,
So, so one of the movies I really like that I use for inspiration is called Rolling Thunder, which was the guy who wrote Death Wish, I believe, wrote that, or his
mhm.
Taxi Driver. I can't remember now, but yeah, Death Wish. Well, at least Death Wish 1. No, I don't know about the 2 through 5. I think it was. Those are fun, but definitely, especially when Golden Globus got a hold of it, and they kind of became over the top cheese. But I love
Yeah.
those I love B movies in general. So if there's an old B movie, I've probably seen it and loved it, even just for all its flaws.
Oh yeah, they're all part of the you know, the love of good just action flicks,
Yeah.
you know.
So, and I love Charles Bronson, so
Yeah.
I love The Great Escape and pretty much anything Steve McQueen touches. So
And
I'm
it was
definitely old
it
school.
was a lot of it was okay, you know, you you you're sitting with your girlfriend, you watching the movie, it's like, I don't get it. I go, okay. So when somebody breaks in the house, murders you to find my microfilms, uh, I suggest let it go. No, I want you to have to. I go, that's what we're watching. That's it. So tell me about the creative team you've got on the book.
So I found an amazing artist named Von Randall who just is phenomenal. And some of the pages here he's doing, and people just really, really seem to respond well to, they just
Oh,
love his
so
stuff.
good.
And then he actually has a colorist he's worked with named Kevin DeCastro. I think he goes by, it's like Teven Art. I think he's his studio. And he really liked the way he colored his pages. So he recommended him, and that's kind of how he came aboard. And so he's been doing the coloring, and it really pops. And then
They're they work quite well together, I must say.
yeah, like I think we had a different color for the first few pages, and I don't. I'm partially colorblind, and so colors to me kind of they all kind of looked at I was like, yeah, that looks good. I can't see much of a difference, but when he's like he didn't like the way the colors were coming out. He said, no, you go with this guy, and we got him on board. And I was like, okay, even I can see the difference now. Um, and it's just been an amazing team. And then there's no examples on here really, but letterer Robin Jones, he's been lettering the books and they look great. It's just I don't have any of those. The pages I have on here were pre-lettered, so
And that's good too, because people still get to see the art and everything, but then you can't give anything away because there's no letters. So you haven't put
yeah.
there's no dialogue in. Uh, hey, props on having Kurt Russell in here.
That's my boy. Even though that's not I didn't say Kurt Russell, but yeah, I love the way he came out. That's actually our main character, Miranda's father. Um, so yeah, I think actually the original concept for him, I sent an old picture of an uncle of mine. I said kind of like him, but yeah,
Cool.
I love Kurt Russell. He's my all time favorite.
He's like a cross between old man Russell and with the lap blanket. I would have to say Dr. Scott from Rocky Horror.
I wouldn't even have thought of that. But yeah, so yeah, I love the way the character came out. So
I really like the look of the book, and this one right here is just
yeah, so that one is actually from artist Aaron Bartling, who does. I think he's working on Ronin, the Ninja Turtles series. Or he does variant covers on it.
oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
that's such that was so good. The whole first issue that I actually read of that.
and I lucked out. I got him. I think right before he started doing. A lot of the guys that have done variants for me, I think I got to them right before they started doing work for like DC or Marvel. It's like, well, they're out of my price range now, probably, but I got them once. So
Yeah, it's all good. There's uh like in music, there's no shortage of guitar players in comics, there's no shortage of cover artists.
Yeah. And I love his stuff. Like I said, that one I thought came out great. So that one for this is just a free reward we're giving with anybody who backs the physical. We'll
Oh,
get a
nice.
free print of that. So because we did a variant cover of that for the floppies on Kickstarter, but that was for kind of a Kickstarter exclusive. So, but I still wanted to make sure people got to cover that because it's just so amazing. So,
well, see, now that conventions are back, if anybody after they back the book sees that, you know, a certain con has a whole bunch of has like a big TMNT signing for Last Ronin, and this particular guy is there, you can just show up with this and be like, hey, can you sign this? You know, the one you did for an independent before you became Hero and a Half Shell famous.
yeah, and he has got his own little fan groups on like Facebook, and I know some of the people who backed it. You know, they it's like anybody. They collect the covers of certain artists, and they just collect his stuff no matter what because they love it so
Yeah.
much. So, yeah, he's going to do some special signings for them. He does like what do you call it? He draws a little bit on there, puts like a little character sketch on there, things like that.
Oh, like remarks, yeah.
Thank you. That's I couldn't think of the word. Yeah, he does those, and those are always fun. So I'm excited to see what people have done for when they get the floppies of that cover.
This guy right here just reminds me of Major Blood from G.I. Joe.
So most of my characters when I write, I have to have a visual of them. So usually I'll use like an actor or a stand-in. Um, and for him, he was one of the few where I didn't really have. I knew I wanted like big, imposing, menacing person, but I didn't really have anybody specific in mind. So when I sent the descriptions and everything to the artist, he came back with us. I'm like, you know what? I love it. He's unique looking. He's got the kind of like the old school mustache. I always think of like the muscle man from like the 1920s. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and the tattoos. And I'm like, I know artists usually hate drawing tattoos because you got to draw it every time. And I was like, you know what? As a dude, if you want to draw them, I love it. So yeah, I love the way this character came out. He has a name, but it hasn't been mentioned yet. And there's, that's something that comes forward in the book. So I kind of just refer to him as him right now. So when people hopefully get the book, they'll move on to book 3 and get a little bit more of a reveal each time.
Yeah, the bad guy. Or one of the bad guys.
Correct. So yeah, so the story itself, it's a basic. It starts off as like a basic revenge story. Miranda is a soldier who returns home and her family's gunned down, and that's kind of the basic setup. But from there, it goes into this world with branching characters, with so many different paths of the story, and she's kind of drawn into this world. And then so the series will run 12 books, so we'll have a conclusion. But in that course, you'll be experiencing multiple stories from multiple characters where they all kind of culminate throughout. So there's a lot that's going to start happening. Kind of the first threads are just starting in book 2, really, and then it just really starts to expand from there.
So throughout this, we will possibly see impressions and shades of a pulp fiction-esque story.
Yeah, maybe not so much in like the way he does like kind of the choppy order, but my goal is I'm not a big fan of just somebody's a villain, they the muahaha and they just do evil to do evil, or their setup is just the evil and the reason. I like people to have a reason behind things. I like people to not root for the villain, but to at least understand their motivations and to maybe feel them as a real person. So my hope is throughout the book, the terms hero and villains, I don't even like using because, there's no whole, nobody's all evil, all good type of thing. So I want everybody to be seen as, very real, down to earth in certain ways. So that's my hope. Like I said, there's a lot of fun stories that are going to go through as the book progresses. And you're really going to get to feel these characters. And that's why when I reference older movies, like when I say, again, like I mentioned, Rolling Thunder, those kind of movies, you'd have like something intense in the very beginning and usually something intense at the very end. But throughout the rest of the movie, it's just, very character driven. You actually get to know what these characters are. And you actually care about the decisions they make. And that's kind of my hope for this.
Yeah, I mean, I like this shot too, where she's on the floor doing some pills with some wine, one elbow up on the toilet underneath the sink. I think I might have had a couple of nights like this.
This I would say this particular page probably garners the most responses to similar to that, either oh I've been there, or I they can feel like that, just that moment of despair that you're in that point. So and that's what I love about the art, is I think I don't even need to put what I've written on there half the time. I think people can just follow along because the art's so amazing, and you get it just by looking at it.
It's like, yep, it's one of them days.
So, and I did go back recently. So if anybody looked at the campaign previously, I went back and added a few extra reward tiers.
Cool.
So I've never done Indiegogo before. I've used Kickstarter, and I wanted to make this different from what I had done on Kickstarter, which is kind of why I'm learning as I go with this one. But we added a few more rewards, like hardcovers, things like that. Kind of seeing what people like on other campaigns and trying to match it a bit,
Yeah.
just to give people more of a variety of what they're used to.
Yeah. Another big thing as you go and get a bigger audience on Indiegogo, people will actually message you and be like, campaign looks really good. Goes, but I wish you had a tier that had this, and that. And then you can just go in and goes, I'll tell you what, I'll put it in right now.
Yeah, and I'm very open. I'll tell people, like, hey, if there's something you want to see or something you want, reach out to me and let me know. I'm all about making, the people who are actually supporting me, I want to make them happy, and I want to make sure they get what they want. So,
Yeah, because
um,
after this, the only way to get the book would probably be, like through your website, or if they see you at a show. And there's not going to be like all this cool extra swag for being a supporter, basically a stockholder in this property.
yeah, and for Indiegogo, and both Kickstarter and Indiegogo, they each had their own exclusive variants,
Yeah.
and I want to honor that. So there won't be those when I do shows again. I haven't done any obviously this last year, but yeah, I'm not going to have those with me. So if you want them, these are the chances. And I have
This is the only way to get them.
exactly.
After that, it's just cover A.
Yep.
That's it.
So
Cover A.
so and I think that's fun, because then the people who do back, it shows them that hey, I wanted you to have a chance for something special, and if you didn't get a chance, you could still get the amazing story and check back in for book 3, because we'll have more great variants and things like that for you to get your hands on then.
Yeah. This page is amazing. Just from like the cinematic angles that he put on this page.
Oh yeah, so it's totally so when I write a script, I generally lay out the panels, and I'm very specific, because I notice when I work with freelance artists, a lot of times they don't want to have to sit there and think, but I always tell them, do what you think looks best, because you're the artist and how a layout's going to look. And yeah, he just killed it. He just took what I said and then just kind of put his twist on it, and I love it.
Just all those angles. It's just like you can look at this one page, and the back of your head would probably just like run through this like you were watching like a reel in slow motion.
Yeah, I love it, and just the art is so killer, and the colors just pop. I love the effects he put on there with like the sunlight. Yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better team. I really got lucky. Just it's anybody who creates indie comics. It looks like my camera's dying on me here. Anybody who creates indie comics, yeah, sorry about that, knows it's hard to find the right artist. It's hard to find people who could be consistent sometimes. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's just been just one of the best finds I've gotten.
And I mean, there, she just killed this dude. And I can tell because there's a whole bunch of blood on the ground and he's not moving. Uh, and there's and he's even got like these wisps of smoke coming up through the burning bullet holes in his chest. I'm like, that's awesome. I hope I never die like that.
Yeah, I love it. I've looked at that page. It feels like 1,000 times, and every time I look at it, I'm still like, I can't believe that's my comic. I'm still blown away. So, and it's just, yeah, I can't tell you how excited I am to work with this team.
Yeah, that page is so good. Well, before we start looking at well the different perks, let's play the beautiful bean footage of this trailer.
In the flash of a gun barrel on an empty street, I saw all that I'd ever wanted. All that I'd ever love. All that I was. Taken from me. Murdered in cold blood. They'll beg for death before I'm done. Someone once said, before you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves, a warning about how you can destroy yourself seeking satisfaction. That implies you have something to lose. But if you've already lost everything, grab the fucking shovel.
Well, damn.
Yeah, I love the way that came out. I found a voice actress online, and I thought she did such a great job with
Oh yeah.
the stuff we gave her. And I had a friend put that trailer together, and it came out great. People really seem to like it.
It's a really good trailer. Uh, I tend to take major issue when somebody puts a trailer up and there's no kind of voice whatsoever to go with the trailer. And they're like, this is boring. A lot of people just like, listen to these shows because there's a lot of creators that listen to like tons of these shows because they're always looking to, see what other people are doing. And a lot of people, subscribe to these shows online, whether it's, through, unique listeners of the podcast on their favorite, app, or if they download it, or if they're just like listening to like the YouTube show, and they could be reading, cooking dinner, what have you, and they just hear random music and nothing. You need to have some kind of narrative over the trailer because a lot of these shows go to podcast afterwards where you only have the spoken word to you know keep somebody's attention. If it's just like random music, they go, oh, must be over, next one. And
Yeah, I think that ties into my love, like I said, of movies, and I like the old school trailers. Not just the in a world kind of guy, but even if you watch trailers before that, they were very. They always had a voiceover that was always kind of descriptive. I always kind of dug those, so I think that's probably what led me to want to do that, kind of go that more out. But definitely what you're saying, because yeah, if you're just hearing the audio, you're like, oh well, all right, music doesn't really help you out much if you're just listening.
yeah, it's just at least if they can hear people talking, they know something's still going on, and they can tune in and figure it out. Use, oh, you know, it must be the trailer for the project, and it'll keep them enthralled in the discussion at least.
Yeah, and I wanted to definitely convey the tone of the book as well, without having to throw it at like just dump everything. I'm like, this is what it's about, and I think that she did such a great job with the read. It definitely gets a lot of that across.
Oh yeah, yeah, she did a great job, and the trailer itself came out. It's a really it's a top notch trailer for sure.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I had a friend who did that, and it just came out great. And another friend wrote the music. He actually wrote the music for that, and wrote the music for the first campaign. And I'm always so grateful for friends and just who are willing to help out like that. And the indie comic scene is such a great place because there's been so many people who have been so helpful. Just as I'm learning Indiegogo, so many great people just reached out and told me little things I can do, or just introduced me to people like yourself to get the word out. And it's
Oh,
just
oh
been a
yeah,
fun experience.
the I found that a lot of people I know that just use Indiegogo are, they're very helpful. If they feel that you're, well, a tool, they're going to be like, yeah, you're just in this for the money. You're not in this for the, you know, of course you want to make money so you can keep producing more content, but if you're just in it for the money, they tend to like shy away from people like that. But people that are, have their heart and soul into a passion project like this, they can just tell, you know.
And I've
And
definitely noticed there's very very passionate group for Indiegogo.
oh
And it's
yeah,
just trying to get to that group and get the word out to I like I said, I've always used Kickstarter, and there was always kind of this stigma about using one or the other, but not both.
hmm,
And I don't know why I was like, oh well, I'm on Kickstarter, I can't do Indiegogo because then people would get upset. And then I talked to other creators who are like, no, it's kind of different groups. And then sure enough, it really feels like it's two totally different groups, like one that'll use only Kickstarter and vice versa. So yeah.
yeah. Much like everything else nowadays, they've uh, they've politicized it, and not even on the Indiegogo side. Kickstarter politicized it pretty much when uh, and kind of like dug their own grave, so to speak, when they hired they hired that hack girl as a comic liaison for them, and she immediately went to a list of people that were known CG creators and just started blockchaining thousands of people.
Yeah, I mean I've heard of it, or I've heard that the about that recently. And I'd hope that there's something that they really, that's a lot of for them it's a lot of money lost. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of great creators out there. Like I didn't really wasn't aware of Comicsgate until I started doing Indiegogo, and people were like, are you a comic skater? I'm like, I don't even know what that is. And I had to kind of get the quick rundown by different people. And uh, it, I would hate to think that such a large business would want to alienate that many people for a misunderstanding. Because my experience with the Comicsgate community has been nothing but positive. The people have been super supportive. I don't see any of the rhetoric I've heard negative about. I haven't seen any of that, and I've seen creators
No,
from
no.
all walks of
It's
life,
it's
nationalities, and everything.
yeah. It's all propaganda.
Yeah, I think somebody's like, like they're Nazis, and I'm like, but the dude I just spoke with was Jewish. I'm like, I would think that's so. That's a pretty, if you convinced a Jewish man to be a Nazi, you have to be the greatest salesman in the world.
Well,
So
he must be leading all us Nazis then.
yeah, so
Uh,
I'm very much in the opinion there's no such thing as uh, all one or the other type of thing.
yeah,
And I'm sure both sides have people that are just closer to the bad examples that people say. But everybody I've talked to and spoke to is nowhere near the kind of horrible rhetoric I've heard.
oh
And like I
yeah,
said, I've talked to creators who are not white, who are homosexual, who are different religious backgrounds. So obviously that breaks the narrative right there for a lot of people.
yeah. It's like they're a hate group. really? The only thing cumulatively that they hate is all this pushing a narrative and checking boxes to check boxes that the mainstream has been having for like the last 4 or 5 years, and abundantly clear that they've been doing it like so much now because they don't care about the comics. They're just producing comics to keep the IPs alive because of the millions of dollars a year they make off of television and movies now.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was reading comics very regularly with getting my box and floppies up until about 5 years or so ago, and I realized I had kind of more moved into independence. I was supporting a lot of Kickstarters and whatnot. And as I thought about it, I was like, well, a lot of it was because I didn't care anymore about the stories they were putting out. They felt really boring.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time I couldn't put anything on. I was like, maybe I've just outgrown it. But I realized so much of the indie scene was where so many newer, fresh stories were coming from, voices you weren't hearing from, creators who maybe never had a chance to hit like Marvel or DC, now have an outlet for their creativity, and it's I've been enjoying those stories more because it feels different. And then I'm seeing now, it's like, yeah, Marvel really has kind of been kind of pretty meh. Like I haven't
Yeah.
read any storyline that is at all
The
memorable.
the only thing that I've read from Marvel that was any good that actually got my money was the run of Immortal Hulk that just wrapped.
And I'm out of the loop on the newest book. I stopped buying floppies a couple years ago. I buy just trade paperbacks, or yeah, because it's just easier at this point to get them in a collection real quick if I want to. But I find
Yeah,
myself going back and just reading like usually stories from like the 2000s and before, the 90s, 80s, and 70s. Reading those
yeah.
collections.
Well, that's what I'm doing now. I've wrapped up pretty much everything I'm doing. Minus some indie stuff like I'm a big fan of Rich Davis's Cult of Dracula series, and so I've been buying those, and I signed up to get like all the books from Bad Idea, which I've been enjoying. And other than that, Immortal Hulk ended, and they gave Donny Cates the Hulk. This will be the first time since I was a teenager that I refused to read a Hulk book.
That's unfortunate. It really
Yeah,
is. I mean,
yeah, I don't like him at all.
I thought about fandoms a lot recently where, especially like with Star Wars, it's very divisive and people get upset, uh, and like you were talking about He-Man with Kevin Smith, and I think for me it always feels like when they do stuff like that, it's not that you're destroying my childhood. It's that we're the fans that kept this property relevant for the last I don't know how many years. We're the ones who supported it. We're the ones who bought the toys. We're the ones who still talked about it. And then when you finally come out with something out, you don't make it for us. You make it for somebody else, and then you wonder why we get mad.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel for a lot of this stuff is, wait, I'm the one who's been giving you money for the last 3 decades, keeping this property alive, and now you're saying it's not for me anymore.
Well,
So
Pops popped in, and now he's popping back out because he's working. But he came in and he dropped the link for the Indiegogo, so thank you for that. Said
Pops is always
heyo,
working.
and I was here. Now I'm gone working.
Yeah, I don't need that. He's always got something going. So I don't know if
Well,
he ever sleeps.
this weekend is CromCon 17, so uh, that's taken up his time, and the guy that I usually pair up with on CromCon, well, besides him, the guest I usually pair up with is a independent illustrator, Sean Howe, who I do an art show with on Wednesday nights.
Okay.
And he's going to be on the pre-show, and I won't be on the pre-show because I'm going to be interviewing Brian from Arif Saga, who is getting ready to launch Dwarves versus Lions. Whoops, we just lost your audio.
Oh, sorry, try that now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I saw a link for that. Doors versus Lions. I've been trying to get on more chats and shows. just to kind of meet the crowd and get to know people better and see what everything's about. And I think I saw that on one of them. So
Yeah, I signed up for it, and I just happened to be on, doing a pops, working on stuff and setting up schedules and everything. And I always keep a YouTube, like 2 YouTube tabs open. One, I'll be playing music, and in my happy place, and the other one I'll just have over, and I'll click back and forth to see, if something's going on. I got a notification that they went live, and there was a huge discussion chat with a whole ton of people, and we were just like throwing ideas out, and he was taking in the ideas, and we were going back and forth, and a lot of the stuff had been put in stone, and he set up the page. He set up. He did 2 things with the pre-launch sign-up page. One was on the day on launch day, on the launch stream, he's going to give away a dwarf tier, which will give one person that signed up the opportunity to become one of the dwarfs in the book.
oh wow.
And the other one is when they back a physical of Dwarfs versus Lions, because they signed up on the pre-launch page, they will get an exclusive patch.
That's actually pretty smart. I mean, I'm learning for myself that the pre-launch is super important, and obviously, I, as I say, I'm learning as I go. Unfortunately, I missed that one, but definitely for the next time, I will be prepared with. I mean, that's a great idea right there.
I also learned that the pre-launch page, and I just learned this the other day. I've been doing this almost 2 years. I just learned that the Indiegogo pre-launch page only stays up for 6 months.
That's still a pretty long pre-launch. I know I've heard of people doing pre-launches, but I think the most I ever heard was like 2 months, and that was mostly just to get signups.
Yeah, like 2 to 3 months, because usually like 10% of your signups will back. I know Arif has a higher rate, but Global Frequency just wrapped up their Indiegogo for Mavericks. Their Kickstarter still has a couple weeks left.
They were doing. I saw that earlier. They did really well on that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they killed
Indiegogo,
it.
305 backers, 25K.
Yeah.
On their first campaign ever.
Oh my gosh.
And their conversion rate for signups on their pre-launch page was 95%.
Wow, that is crazy.
And Neff said, well, this just goes to show you, we only have friends that buy indie comics.
So, yeah, definitely what I've learned is with Kickstarter, you can not have an audience and people will come and find you, because Kickstarter is very good with kind of like you could just peruse and you'll find just random books, that you might like. And I think I got a lot of business through Kickstarter for just people finding me that way. And definitely with Indiegogo, you kind of have to have your audience with you. They're not going to find you randomly. But the upside to that is it seems like they're very devoted, or they at least are very supportive. And then when you go on to do other things, if they like you, they'll be more inclined to back you. So you build your audience through word of mouth, as opposed to just the random findings. So
yeah, and the big thing is a good chunk of people that either use Indiegogo for their own projects, plus back other projects, or just fans that prefer Indiegogo over Kickstarter. A good portion of them all hang out on Twitter, as you've come to learn.
Yeah. So when I started Kickstarter, everybody always said, "Oh, for best advertising for Kickstarter is Instagram and Facebook." So I put all my resources into Instagram and Facebook, and I didn't really use Twitter because Twitter always seemed like where people went to. Like I only knew it as a place where people kind of complained, and I was like, I don't want to be part of that.
The cesspool of blue check marks.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't want to deal with that. I go to Indiegogo and everyone's like, "Oh, well, they're all on Twitter," and I'm like, "Of course they are." It's the one I haven't used in like 3 years. So, yeah, like I said, learning as I go. So I have been using more Twitter, doing my best to get that out there.
And the other thing too is once you start getting followers on Twitter, every time you share your project, you have 2 to 12 people that will see it in the course of the day and retweet it out.
And yeah, I mean, I don't, in the world of followers, my number is small, but the people that have been so nice and been retweeting every time I try to get the link out there. And it's been just nothing but amazing. Just like I said, the support I'm getting just right away. People who see my book and they really like it and they said, "Hey, we want to help you get the word out." And I'm like, "That's so cool." I don't know these people, and
It's like, wow, really?
yeah,
Yeah,
I
great.
yeah, thank you. So yeah, I mean, from where I'm from, that I haven't had that people reach out as much, so it's very cool. And a little bit more, you get nervous, you're like, oh, people have more interaction, so if they hate the book, they're gonna let you know right away too. So I got to make sure what I give them is the best I can give them. So
Well, I sold a stack of some pretty big keys to a friend of mine. Paid off a couple of bills, and I had about $300 left over, and I went all in on Mavericks. I bought the big collector's box. I bought the merch tier, and it's the most money I've ever spent. Now this coming from a guy that would walk into his comic shop and bitch, piss, and moan because the new number one from Marvel or DC that I was looking forward to checking out was like $12. And then I go, then I run to Indiegogo and spend 220.
But at least there, where the money's going. It's
Yeah.
going to you're helping fund more more passion projects, more original stories. So that's why I mean I done most of my backing through Kickstarter, just because that was the platform I first started on. And so yeah, I mean every time, even if I don't know, I always like it. I always think, you know what? This is going to where it needs to go, to people who are actually telling new stories. So that's a good feeling. I've never dropped as much. I think the most I ever did was close to 200 on a few projects, but yeah, it's definitely interesting. Yeah. Cause I used to go to the store and I get my pull boxes and I'd be like, man, $200 in comics. What am I doing?
That was like a weekly occurrence for me.
Yeah. Well, older guys like us, remember you could go back and spend $20 and walk out with fistfuls of comics at one point. Now you go.
I know. I'm like, oh, and now for the most part, all I'm doing is buying back issues.
Yeah, I mean that's where the good stories are at this point.
Mean, there's a few new things. The only thing that I've really liked from DC in the last few years, I always get excited when I see a Batman book because 4-year-old me watching Adam West and Burt Ward on TV as Batman and Robin, dug my heels in deep for 40 plus years. But I'm not even excited to read any of that stuff anymore. The only stuff that I've actually enjoyed has been their Black Label stuff.
DC's been hit or miss for me. Like I said, I just buy the trade paperbacks. But
yeah, it's cheaper. It's cheaper to be a trade waiter.
Yeah.
Than it is that. And I mean, I've been going to my LCS since I was 15. I discovered them in my town when I was 15. It was the first comic book shop I walked into. I ended up becoming friends with the guy that the owner hired to manage the location. And then he ended up buying out the owner. And, I've been friends with him, ever since. And I mean, I'll still go there. I'll still buy my supplies, from him because I want to support a local business. And I will buy, I'll go in once in a while and, in the chair now that he's moved further down in the plaza that has wheelchair accessibility for me and other people, I'm not the only person in the wheelchair in that whole town. I mean, come on, what are the odds? And I'll go in and I'll peruse and maybe buy a trade or an omnibus of something that I wanted to read and never got around to it because I couldn't afford it because I was spending too much money on trash modern comics, or when he has a back issue sale and drops everything that's $10, under $10 to $1 a piece. I'm like, yeah, I can get behind buying back issues for $1 a piece.
Yeah.
So that's that's where I am with that, and I do buy online, but it just it's been back issues. Like I bought Mike Grell's John Sable Freelance. I bought almost the entire series for like $20
Wow,
a few
that's not
months
bad.
ago, and I'm like, that's good reading.
Yeah. I mean, I do cave. I'm like a cover whore. I'll buy variant covers, even if it's a series I'm not even like gonna read. I was like, man, I do love that cover. So I am one of those guys. I still do that periodically, or if it's an artist I really like, I'll always buy their book, their cover book, or whatever, just because of that. But yeah, when it comes to
You
actual stories,
slut.
I am. So like, I love Frank Cho and Art Giant. They put out stuff. I'll just like, oh,
Well,
go buy it.
I think we all love Frank Cho for the same reason.
It's funny, when I last Comic-Con I did, he was there, and like there was just nobody at his table, and I was looking around in shock, like, why is there nobody at Frank Cho's table? It baffled me. So I mean, great for anybody who got to talk to him. So, and Jay Lee too. I got to meet him early on, and it was nice guy, and there was nobody around at the time. I was like, what's going on?
The last show I covered for Outright Geekery was Rhode Island Comic-Con back in 2019. And I got to meet Neil Adams, talked to him for about 40 minutes. And this was, while they were setting up, so he hadn't gotten, angry at anybody that was wondering why they had to pay $50 to have him sign a book. And I spent some time, some time every day when there was nobody at his table talking to Graham Nolan. And, I'm sure he was sick of me after like the first hour, but he was captured behind a table. He couldn't go anywhere really.
I've worked a lot of shows where Neil Adams is at, and I try to catch him in the the morning before it opens, and I always like try to approach him like some kind of like colleague, almost like, hey Neil, I'm a writer as well. Obviously I'm will never be anywhere Neil Adams level of anything. But I figured like maybe if I approach him with confidence, he'll have a conversation. He always looks like, hey. And I was like, all right, well. And then I run off scared because it's the aura around him drives me away. But yeah, I always enjoy getting to see Neil and his massive like just group that he brings in.
Oh, I thought you were going to say his massive adult diaper.
No. So I have God help me, I forgot his name. The guy who did all the covers, the artwork for Iron Maiden. We met him at a show, and his wife was the nicest lady, and she was talking to us all the time. And anytime he'd sign something, or like if it like the pen broke or just anything like that, and they didn't like it, she just kept handing it to us. Here you go, guys. So we had like his really nice hardbound edition art book for free because he was writing in it, and the pen kind of had a blotch, and he likes it to be perfect. So we had so much swag. It's funny just the people you meet and just the conversations you can have. So
yeah, I got to meet Bill McKay, Christopher Priestley, who writes some of the Vampirella stuff over at Dynamite, Mike Grell, Tom Mandrake, and a whole bunch of indie people as well. And
yeah.
I mean, I had a good time. So
I caught Brian Padillo on the way to the bathroom because one of my first big cons, they put us right next to the bathroom. So I was sitting there trying to talk to him, and poor guy was really nice, but you could tell he's like, okay, I gotta go. So
can't talk right now.
Yeah, exactly. So
catch me on the way out if you can.
No, wasn't the greatest booth spot, but I got to see people coming and going all day.
Oh yeah. All right, let's dive into your tiers here. So your featured tier is Dig Two Graves graphic novel, $30. It's 80 pages, all full color of revenge action, plus an 8.5 by 11.5 A4 full color glossy print. That would be the one that we were discussing earlier, I'm sure.
Yeah, the Brian Bartling print.
Included items: the Dig Two Graves graphic novel and the aforementioned Aaron Bartling mini print.
Yep. So yeah, I think it's like 84 pages. I have to look at. I'm pretty positive it's 84 pages from both books. I write long for my books. I like to clock in at 40 to 42 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And I, because for me, I'm I'm an indie creator. I got to give them double what they get from anybody else because,
Yeah.
I got to give them more bang for the buck.
You want to give people more bang for their buck in the fact of, what an average indie comic costs on these crowdfunding platforms, even in a floppy form,
Mm-hmm.
is an averages out like $25 a pop.
Yeah, so I'm trying to make it so when people do back, they're not just getting the standard. What is that? 22 pages, give or take. So they're getting at least double that. And then with this, we're going to try to, that'll be 84 pages of just story. And then, of course, there'll be like the extras, like, some concept art, some variant art, things like that. If we hit some bigger goals, my idea is to maybe put more previews of what's coming up in issue 3. It just depends how well we do by the end. So.
And this is issue 2 of the series, correct?
This is actually issue 1 and 2. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's the first 2 books, and I just, like I said, I had done floppies for Kickstarter. I'd wanted to do the graphic novel version, and since it was Indiegogo, I'm like, well, I'm just going to do a little bit different. So that's why I went this route with it.
Okay, so Kickstarter, you did floppies, and Indiegogo, you're going the graphic novel version.
Right. I wanted to keep,
Okay.
because like I said, yeah, at the time I thought I needed to make the campaigns completely different. So. And this case catches people up too, so they're all good to go.
So this is basically your catch-up tier.
Yeah, you'll get this, and you're, like I said, you'll be right up with everybody else, and then we're turning into book 3. That's my hope, is to get that really going around January 2022, I guess. So once everything's finished, getting sent out to everybody, get that moving.
And for those that cannot afford the shipping, are you doing worldwide?
I am. I don't remember what we have for the worldwide. I know it's a little bit higher just because there's been some horrible increases, especially to places like Australia.
Yeah.
Where it's unfair for everybody involved.
Yeah. Australia, they're probably not going to get it. The governmental martial law will just probably, take your stuff and read it and stuff. And
so I do have friends in Australia, so they will actually get the bulk of everything, and then they will actually ship it directly from there. So I only have to make like one shipment, thankfully.
Oh, very good. So as long as they get your shipment,
Yeah.
you're all good, because now you're mailing from within the former and now current prison island of Australia.
Yeah, I don't know the specifics of what's going on down there, but I know right now shipping down there, anything is just outrageous. So I feel for anybody down there who's trying to get something outside the country, it's going to be pricey.
Yeah, the rates are going, skyrocketing like every other country around. Australia, of course, is always the highest. Something I think it's our toilet water goes in the reverse angle tax or something like that. But
Yeah. Yeah, but hopefully that gets situated soon.
Yeah, maybe they can spin the water the other way. I think it's because they're upside down.
And they're, like, as you're showing, there is the PDF version for people who just want to help support. They want to read it. And I know some people want to read before they commit. So definitely a chance for them to see the story and see if they like it.
You can get the PDF. And there are some people that just prefer digital comics.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know anyone.
I have no idea. But some do. The problem is most of the people I know overseas, refuse to read anything that's not physical.
I'm sure my wife would prefer I bought only PDFs. She
It would
loves
take up less
dissect.
space. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
my
I'm trying to get rid of some comics because I have like 300 boxes.
I'm not that bad. I have only about I think 12 long boxes right now.
Well, this is between long and short, but it's still a lot.
Yeah, every time you have to move, those are the worst bastards to move. They're so damn heavy.
Oh, well, I'm in a wheelchair. I can't move anything, but
Well,
yeah,
you pay movers. You're like, I feel bad for you because I know that's heavy.
yeah.
And you sit back and watch.
And there is a mini poster set available for $15.
Yeah, so since I wasn't doing it when I first set this up, I wasn't going to do any variants because, again, with the graphic novel, I didn't want to have lots of different printings of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to offer some of the variant covers we had, and and some of these weren't even featured on the Kickstarter. So um, it's a nice array. It's those was that 5 posters. Some of those were variant covers. Some of them are just nice art that was poster form.
Yeah.
Like I said, so we do the mini set, and then we have the 11 by 17 for the people who kind of want that Comic-Con size poster.
Yeah.
So that one's in there as well. So you get the couple options there.
I really like the one in the middle, and
Yeah.
of course, the one just to the right of the middle.
So the one in the middle is a guy, Vincent Viticola. I don't know. I found him years ago, and he does like these portrait style ones. I love them so much. He's done a few for me, and it's one of my personal favorites of all the stuff I've had done. I go to that one the most. Just my personal style. And yeah, to the right is actually Nathan Serzi. I'm sure I'm saying his name wrong. He does a lot of work right now for DC. He does a lot of the Harley Quinn. He's got a very distinct style. They all kind of look like that. They're girls, even if it's like Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, they're all heavily tattooed. And it's kind of like this pinup style.
They all have the same body from the neck down.
It's very distinct, and I like it. And I got him, like I said, right before he started doing those. So I got at least one out of him.
Hey, you take what you can get.
Yeah, and I was glad I got the one, and then I could say, hey, I got a guy who works for DC, did some art for me.
And then we get into the hard covers.
So yeah, I did add these just recently. I think just a few days ago, whenever it is I posted about it. I limited these to a smaller amount. It's for people who are who just really want. I love the hardbound editions of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of my way of just living out that dream of I really want to just have the hardbound. So it gives me an excuse to have my own copy of a hardbound. And then I wanted to do something because I've been enjoying the Indiegogo crowd and the people who've been supportive. I wanted to make sure they had something that was unique for them. So that's where the other hardbound came in. It's the variant by my cover artist, Wilton Santos. It's like the Driver, the movie poster inspired version he did.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's only for Indiegogo. So this is my to this crowd saying, here, this is something that's just for you.
And I mean, that's a gorgeous cover. Like the sunset colors he put in on that and everything are just amazing.
Yeah, so Wilton Santos, I think he actually does. He's been doing some of the Star Wars books for Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually the penciler and everything. So yeah, he's done all my covers so far, my main covers. He's actually already got like 3 more done. Like I've just having him go out and do all the covers before the book's done because just getting them all lined up. But that was one we did. It didn't. I liked it. I didn't know if I was going to use it, and I was like, this is the perfect time. This is such a beautiful cover. It's beautiful work. It needs to be seen. So
yeah, and that's great because I mean I just love that cover. I mean I love hardcovers. I love the price of the soft cover.
Yeah.
But I love the longevity of the hardcover.
And they look so good on a bookshelf too.
Yeah, because you put too many of the soft covers up there, and they start to like warp a little bit, and depending the climate you're living in, you might get a little corner curl on them, and I'm like, oh, now I got to buy another one. This one's not perfect anymore.
So yeah, I said I love the bookshelf display for all my graphics and my of course all the toys and collectibles that go with it. So
Oh,
I'm there
no.
with you on that one.
You making toys?
No, I just mean in general.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if we do well enough, if we pull in a bigger number, I'll look into it for sure. I don't know anything about that, so I would not want to commit to that at the moment.
I'm like, because I wouldn't mind having an action figure of her.
Don't get me wrong, I would love I love my own merchandise for this stuff because to me it's like, oh, it's my character. It's so fun to have it. I mean, there is nothing better than holding your own comic in your hand. That first time is it's amazing. For anybody who's ever created something, it's so fun. This is the cameo tier. So I did 2 of these. There's the cameo, which is, just have yourself drawn in. Just, you'd probably be a background character. Depending if you have something specific, I can try to, work with that. And then the other one is a cameo with a speaking role. So I've actually written out the next few books, and I always leave a couple people vague on their look and what they'll say just for this role. So if somebody actually, if you're going to pay such a high end for a point, I want you to feel like you're getting your money's worth. So you can tell me, hey, I want to be a bad guy or a good guy. I want to be shot, whatever. I can work that in. And I can't necessarily say, if you have something specific you'd like to say, I can't say for sure it'd get worked in, but I would definitely try to accommodate as best as I can, depending on, what kind of character you're looking for. So for that one, it is pricey, but I'll make sure that you get, I'll try to get you your money's worth. So you'll get, a little bit of customization with that.
Yeah, like I couldn't have my character say, why did you unsubscribe to Creators Outlet on YouTube and then get shot in the face?
I mean, I could always find a way to somehow make that work, but it may be odd. So yeah, as I always say, artist discretion. I've learned that lesson one too many times.
Well, both these cameos look like they're both about to die horrendously.
Yeah, I mean, we just like said, we took the cover and we're like, I just make the guy like you could fit right in. So yeah, because I did this with another book, the one I mentioned earlier, Rebel Yell, my first series. Somebody's like, it was like a monster of the week kind of setup, and they're like, I want to get eaten by a monster. I'm like, sure, I could do that. That's easy. So hey, if somebody wants something special, if they want a crazy death, I can certainly work that in. And then the other ones I added. Essentially, you get the the hard edition of either one, but you also get the 11x17 commission from Von Randall.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, and then for that, you also get, I'll throw in, you get the posters and, of course, anything else I can think of, I'll just throw in that package. So,
yeah. So $1,200, you're paying the artist for a commission, and Jim is just throwing in one of the hard covers, one of the soft covers, and all the swag he can muster.
Exactly. I mean, if I got the kitchen sink and it can fit, we'll throw that in too. But I mean, a commission by Vaughn is amazing anyway. That's worth probably, for me, as much as I love his art, it's worth everything.
Yeah. And you've got 2 tiers of 5 set up on this.
Yeah, so basically I set it up as if you want one cover or if you want the other cover. I guess I could have set it up as...
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I could have set it up as pick any cover, but I think for a visual, I set it up as 2.
Yeah, so here's all this when you can pick the main cover or you can pick the variant cover, plus the soft cover and all the swag and stretch goals. And
yeah, and we put free shipping on that. I mean, if you're paying that high price, obviously I'm not going to also charge you shipping. So
yeah, are you doing free shipping on any of the cameos?
I can as well. I didn't even think about, or I might have put that at the point. I'd have to look. I don't remember. But yeah, anything over those bigger tiers, obviously, it's not going to be a problem. I mean, unless you're in Australia, in which case, I mean, I have to. I'm teasing, but
if you're in Australia, you're fucked.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in Australia, the shipping probably going to cost you the same as the tier.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm doing my best to make that as easy as possible because I do have a lot of great people who have supported me in Australia, and I want to make sure that I can get them the books as well. So that's why I said I have friends out there who I'm going to make sure they get the one bulk shipment, and then they can parcel it out from there. So it should make it easier for anybody internationally to get it.
Yeah.
And I did that before, and international shipping is a pain, but for me, the idea of knowing my book is somewhere in another part of the world being read was just, it's so exciting. And I love that idea so much that I'll always have international shipping. I'll always try to make it as affordable as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll always try to make sure that they get what, they feel like they got a good product for that extra they had to pay.
Yeah, I like to call it Mike Jimmy is from the Netherlands. He's the creator of Life on Quora, and he's a publisher too. And he'll pop in because of the time zone difference. When we do the art show, it's very late in the evening, early morning, and he literally lives in the future. So when it's midnight Eastern time, it's 5 a.m. to him. He's getting up, having breakfast, getting ready to go to his day job. So he'll pop in, and we have a running joke. Goes, oh, Mike Jimmy's here from the Netherlands. We have international notoriety once again.
So you think after all these years, everybody I deal with being international, you think I'd be good with the time zones, and I'll just space it. I'll start chatting, and they're like, dude, it's like 2 a.m. here. I'm like, oops, sorry about that.
Oh, yeah. It's, you got to be like, Siri, what time is it in Australia?
I get so excited. I'm like, hey, if you're responding, I just assume you're up. So,
Yeah.
and with most artists I know, their hours vary from, wildly. So,
yeah. Some artists I know are kind of like insomniacs.
yeah,
They'll
they drawing at night's the best.
They'll sleep like an hour and a half to 2 hours at various times during the day, most of which includes them passing out at the drawing table.
I mean, I don't write at night, but it seems like, drawing is like peak hours at like, the latest hours.
Yeah, because nobody's there, nobody's usually around to bother you, and even if you're streaming, even if you're doing like a YouTube thing for your channel, you have like maybe 5 or 6 people watching, diehard fans that they'll get a notification at 3 a.m. Goes, oh, Eric's drawing again, son of a bitch, I gotta get up and watch this. But when you scroll down, for everybody listening on the podcast, when you go to the page, if you scroll further down towards the bottom, you can get a better look at the poster sets because there's a larger image of them, and they all look pretty cool.
Yeah, I tried to give a mix of different art styles. So when I reach out to an artist that I like and I want them to do some kind of variant, I pretty much just say, here's the character, do your take. And so that's why everything's kind of uniquely different. So like you said, the far left kind of has more of that animated kind of, it's very bright. And then you got the action pose, that artistic portrait one in the middle, the sexy pinup, and then the one on the far right it doesn't do it justice at that picture. I should probably put some bigger ones up. It's such a beautiful piece. It's from an artist I believe she's in Brazil, and forgive me, I can't remember her name, but there's just this. She does this lovely red tattoo line work all through the body, and it's just so cool.
Yeah, I thought it was blood at first, and then
Yeah,
you said tattoo, and I go, oh yeah, I see pictures.
Yeah, and I should probably put some blow them up in there, but yeah, when you see it, it's just, I love her style. It's very unique, and so I was like, I had to have her do some work for me.
And when you buy that, you will know her name because it is signed at the bottom right corner of the poster.
Yes, and I have it. I just don't have it at the top of my head. So
yeah.
I obviously want to credit all my amazing artists, and they know that I love them, and that I will always make sure that if anybody loves their stuff, I will always promote where they're at so people can find them for themselves.
And the hardbound editions are exclusive to Indiegogo. So whether you take the main cover or this gorgeous variant cover, I have to say I am partial to this variant cover.
Yeah, I love it. Like I said, Wilton Santos, he just knocked it out of the park with that one.
No matter which hardcover you take, the hardcover is only available on Indiegogo.
Yep. So and yeah, like I said, that's my as best ways I could say thank you to the Indiegogo crowd is giving them something just for them. So.
And stretch goals.
So yeah, I'm the worst with stretch goals. I kind of forget about them until I get to it. Then it's like, oh, so we got unlocked already. We got, of course, the stickers and bookmarks, which are pretty standard. And I started reaching out to people saying, what do you want to see? And because I thought, stickers and bookmarks people were bored with, and some people like, no, I don't want them. But I had such an overwhelming response of what they almost like look for them in campaigns, like they collect them.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh well, there they are. So
the stickers are cool. So I have to draw attention to it. I'm very partial to the one on the far right, where she is almost naked, and the bookmark on the far left, in the bikini with a Glock.
Like I tell people, the character isn't very sexualized. Obviously, I like things to stay grounded, but artists, I give them carte blanche to do what they want. And so those are their takes, and they're very, like anything, when you do a campaign, it's like, well, I'm gonna have a couple sexy variants of some sort because people like those. So yeah, those are some artist takes.
Yeah, the far right sticker is, she's covered, but it's sexy as fuck. It gives me shades of like the old Ghost in the Shell, the original Ghost in the Shell comic almost.
Yeah, and the artist for that one, Diego, he's done a few things for me, and I really like his style. I'm not into anime necessarily. I don't read much manga, but his stuff is like kind of on that verge of anime, but also not quite.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he does anime as well, and I really like it. So he's done some variant stuff for me, and I always love his stuff.
And when you hit 1.5K, you will unlock the Chibi Miranda sticker.
And actually, that I forgot. It's not a sticker; it's a magnet. So people will get the magnet at that point.
Oh, see, we're so used to getting chibi stickers. The magnet is 10 times better. I love getting magnets because I can just randomly stick it on my fridge and forget about it until it's time to eat, and then I would be like, oh, yes. And some of them I will only see when I'm coming in the door because my apartment opens up into my kitchen. So when I'm coming back from checking the mail or from one of my many horrendous doctor's appointments, I will see magnets on that side of the fridge as well.
And yeah, I was one of these people, like, they really liked magnets. I'm like, cool, I got that. And then the next one is so what we call that the Grindhouse. It was a Grindhouse inspired poster. So for anybody who actually saw some of the old Grindhouse posters and movies, they kind of had this drawn look, and I love those, and I wanted one. So that's a tier. And then if we could make it up to 3K, we got the Marvel inspired trading cards. So essentially we took the 90 Marvels cards look, and then added obviously my characters to it. I love those cards. I collected them. I still have them. So this for me is a fun little.
I sold mine.
Oh, I couldn't do it. I think those mean more to me than the comics sometimes. That's how much I love them.
I loved them, but I hadn't looked at them in like 20 years. And then somebody said, hey, for whatever reason, some speculator fool said the Marvel cards are worth money. I'm like, they are. And I sold the set, and then he goes, do you have any of the stickers? I go, I have all the stickers but this one, another $25, and you can have them. I'll take them. Okay. So I got like $1.25 for the set.
I think I saw that. That was like not that long ago. I remember people were like going crazy for those Marvel cards all of a sudden.
They're going to Beckett's and getting them graded.
I mean,
suckers.
They're everywhere. I mean, shit, you could probably buy enough of them to use for toilet paper for the rest of your life. There were so many of them.
Yeah. It was just. I still have some. Like, I've got the McFarlane Wolverine set, the first one, and I've got like one or two partial sets of like the Spider-Man stuff, and I've got like a bunch of fantasy cards. Like, I bought like a box of the artist Michael Whalen. He did a lot of covers for like fantasy novels back in like the 80s and 90s. Wonderful artist. And I bought like one box of his cards on sale, and I got like 5 complete sets.
Well, there you go. That's a deal.
So I'm like, and I'll ask like artist friends. I go, okay, well, I'm sending you something. Hey, remember Michael Whalen? Goes, yeah. No, I've already got that card set. I'm like, damn. You're not even selling them. You're just giving them away. I go, yeah.
I remember when I went to a comic shop in the early 2000s when I was trying to sell stuff, and I remember mentioning that, and he's like, I got boxes and boxes of those, and I'm like, well, I hope he didn't get rid of them. There was that short window where you could sell them for ridiculous prices to people who didn't know any better.
Oh yeah.
So,
and after the trading cards, if you get there, is at 4K will be a pin.
Yeah, we don't have it yet, like the look, so we kind of just put a placeholder in there. If we get to that point, I'm hoping we have some bumps this week, doing a lot of shows, trying to get the word out. We'll start having more the visuals.
Yeah.
So, and then that's why we have a lot of coming soon, because I'm trying to make things, create things that I hadn't actually planned on going that high. Because I don't know, I guess I didn't think that far ahead. So I'm hoping we can. My hope is to reach 50 backers by the end of this week. We have, I think, 17 days left, and we're at 32, I think it said.
Yep.
So I'm hoping we can hit 50 before the end of the week. And that should put us at a couple of those things. And then obviously, you'd like to hit as much as you can, but
oh yeah,
I'm still new to this audience. I'm still getting my name out there, and people are still finding me. So I know it's a slow build.
Not everybody can get 305 backers on their first Indiegogo.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, wow, those guys killed it. They really did.
We'll get you there at some point, but yeah, I was actually I had Stefan, the creator of the Veil Walker, on last night. And we were talking various campaigns, and of course, I brought up, this.
War is a topic of vital importance, a subject of inquiry that cannot be ignored. It is a matter of life and death. It can be a road to safety or to ruin.
In an alternate version of our world, brought to the brink of total collapse, rival nations fight for global domination, and elite pilots in futuristic combat suits wage war on the battlefield of tomorrow. Now, 6 brave soldiers on a seemingly routine rescue mission will encounter more than they bargained for and uncover a dangerous secret that could change their world if they live long enough to see it.
Only available now on Kickstarter because Indiegogo closed last night. Get it while you can. And now back to our regularly scheduled program of praise.
Yeah, I was on a show with them, and I saw that, and I was like, man, I love the way you guys did that trailer. It's so cool. And they were super nice. So.
Oh yeah, they just barely got that edited about 10 minutes before they launched.
Nothing like the last minute.
He brought in extra animators and stuff to help with certain areas of it, and I mean they went all out, and it paid off, and it was so good. And I was joking around with him on the closeout stream last night as he's getting ready to sign off, and I'm like, this book better not fucking suck. And he just looks down at me. He's like, click.
Well, for that backing, you definitely got to make sure you got your A game going. But they look like they got it all together. That book looks amazing.
Oh yeah.
It's going to kill. People are going to love it. I already know. I mean, I don't know any more than anybody else, but just from what I've seen, I mean, yeah,
well,
you could definitely.
It's not just that book. There's also kind of like a prequel book that has 3 short stories in it.
Yeah.
That precedes that. And I bought their merch tier just because there's a 16 gig flash drive that says Mavericks on it that has most of their world building stuff in there, so you have context. So I'm like, when I finally get it for Christmas, I think it's Christmas time. They said people should start seeing their packages arriving. So before I can read the actual book, I'm going to flip through it quick, and then I'm going to be like, oh, not yet. And then I got to read all the world building stuff. Then I have to read the supplemental one with the three stories in it, and then I can read the main book.
So, I mean, I love how excited you are for it. That it's nice to see fans or somebody who still cares, about just original stories. And as a creator, it makes me excited. There's still fans out there like that who get excited to see something new, who don't need to see that DC or Marvel logo splattered across it, who have to have, Spider-Man in every book for them to actually want to touch it. And I like that. And I love that that's still there.
Yeah. I hate that they destroyed Spider-Man and now Hulk with Donny Cates. My phone, by the way, if I put hashtag and the letter I in, my phone automatically generates hashtag I hates the Cates.
Donny Cates was that wasn't he doing like G.I. Joe or something at one point? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
I don't remember where he started. He's the one that's been doing Venom for like the last couple of years. He's if he has anything to say about it, he's always paired with Ryan Stegman, who is an amazing artist. And they're friends. And what it was is I read he did that kind of like cannibal zombie book for Aftershock.
This is Donny Cates you're talking about.
Yeah. That was good. I mean, I liked it. What I read of it, I really liked. And he did that book crossover for Image. I read the first issue, and it killed me to write him a good review. I hated myself. I was almost going to inflict pain upon myself, and then realized, no, I had a relationship with my kid's mother. That was enough. There's been a couple other things he's done that started out good, but he's also the one that did the Cosmic Ghost Rider. Cosmic Ghost Rider. Oh, look, Frank Castle is still alive, and he's the Cosmic Ghost Rider. Get out of here with that. And a few other things that he did, and I go, yep. The Marvel sheeple are like worshiping him like he is, the next coming of Chris Claremont or something. And I'm like, he's not. He found what it was is he found a formula that worked that people bought into, and he just kept doing rinse and repeat with the same thing. It was change out characters and circumstances, but keep this loop on the outside the same. That's what everybody wants right now. And then he got his hands on Thor. Jason Aaron's Thor was way better. which, by the way, I sold pretty much my entire Jason Aaron Thor run and a couple of other keys to be able to back Mavericks because I got no money. And then he decided that, right here, Thor is going to kill Galactus with his hammer.
I did not hear. I didn't see that storyline at all. But like I said, I'm out of the loop when it comes to the comics over the last 5 years. At this point, it seems like at least Marvel and DC.
Thank your lucky stars and garters that you missed that entirely. So it's it's like no thanks. I've even responded to some of his tweets with, of course, my hashtag I hates the Kates. I don't really think that's going to work out for you. I go, well, you're entitled to your opinion, but next time I want it, I will squeeze your head. Where all the shit comes from.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I go, what's he gonna do? Get me thrown off of Twitter, and I will come back in 2 hours with a brand new Twitter, and just go through my old list and repopulate again.
Well, like I said with everybody, you support with your money. So
yeah, it's like I even I won't trash talk if me saying I don't like him. I've bought a bunch of his Venom issues, and I read them, and I'm like, they're not bad. Yeah, this is a cool idea, but there's just so many. It was like reading a piece of Swiss cheese. It's he likes to sweep everybody up in the euphoria of the situation, and they forget that can't happen. That's not how any of this works, and it ends up being that that Facebook goof commercial where the old ladies are taping stuff up onto their actual wall in their house. That's not how any of this works.
I mean, I guess the bonus for me as an indie creator is I don't also have that burden of so much canon that came before me, and I have to at least respect writers who do work for the mainstream, that they have to always carry that that legacy of the greats behind them. I mean, anybody took over X-Men, especially after Chris Claremont. I mean, that is such a hard. I mean, I love Jim Lee's run. But yeah, and I give that shout out. I mean, if Marvel or DC said, "Hey, we want you to come write a book for us," I would be excited. But yeah, it's difficult because of so much of that you have to deal with. But there's also ways to handle it too. A lot of great writers have come in and carried the torch and moved it forward too.
Oh, for sure. But now they really don't have canon because they just change everything and reboot the series over and over again because certain creators, darn Kirk, and others are in superstar mode, and they all think they deserve their own individual series run on a character or a book where they basically don't have to, adhere to all the canon. They keep what they want, and then they get rid of everything else and just, I know you're a writer, and a big part of being a writer is you're making stuff up, writing it down on the paper or on your computer, and creating a story. Wonderful. But don't, get rid of the history. Like the big thing, and I've hated a ton of things that DC's done like the last 2 years. But growing up as a DC kid, the big thing that got me cancel all my books was when they turn around and announce that Red Robin, who is former Robin, Tim Drake, is now gay.
Yeah, I heard about
After
that.
he has had 5 different intimate relationships with women in the DC universe.
Yeah, Tim Drake always seems like he gets the short end of the stick when they just need something for the Robins. They don't want to touch Dick Grayson. But I'd heard that, and I was kind of surprised they'd went that route. But
Well,
it's not shocking.
now apparently Tim Drake's going to be telling Bubba about the rabbits. Take that prison joke as you see fit.
I don't think I've ever heard that expression.
It's an old Robin Williams joke, where he's making a joke about prison, and goes and about this skinny little stockbroker getting locked in a cell, and big black dude turns around and goes, "Hey, tell Bubba about the rabbits." That's a euphemism for something. I'll just say rabbits have those 2 ears, and now we're walking away.
And I would like to say, for anybody who's watching, I apologize. My webcam went out on me, so it kind of kept cutting in and out, and it finally just died. So I don't know the protocol if it's rude to have the camera off. I do apologize. Like I said, my webcam decided it didn't like me anymore.
No,
so.
I can do that too. That's fine.
So I just don't want people to think that I don't. Like I said, I don't know if that's considered rude or not. So what the protocol is, but I did want to say that at least. So my apologies.
The truth is, Jim decided he wanted to, take a bath in a bowl of Jello, and he's doing stuff he can't do on camera. No,
I got to save that for the OnlyFans account.
Oh, see, you had to bring that up, didn't you? That's
pretty much it.
That's the thing that comes up on the Showzilla Art Show on Wednesday nights a lot. We got nervous. I was like, "Great, our greatest meme is not going to be any good anymore." And then they backpedaled. No, you can do all that nasty stuff on OnlyFans again.
Yeah, okay. That lasted about a day, I think.
I'm like, yes. Yeah, it was like 12 hours. And they were like, we're just going to shut down. Nobody tunes in here to learn how to cook.
I honestly, I don't know a ton about the site other than, when it was getting the news coverage, but to my understanding, I thought that was all the site was. So when they said that, I'm like, well, what else do they offer? I guess they wanted to be more like Patreon. So my understanding of the site was different. So
they're Patreon with boobs.
I mean, lean into what you got,
It's man, I would lean into a set of nice boobs any day of the week.
So yeah, I mean, I saw that. I was like, oh. So, but yeah, as you said, I'm not built for. I'm sure there's a very small niche of people who like big, hairy, fat guys, but I don't think it's worth my dignity at the moment to do that. I'd rather just create fun, enjoyable books.
I haven't found people that would pay for that. I have, however, found people that will pay me to keep my clothes on. So,
well, hey, there you go.
Please send your check of money order too. So we got 16 days left. 32 backers. You're sitting at $1,200, 240% of your flexible $500 goal. And there are some great perks in here, opposed to having to buy 2 books. You made it so we only have to buy 1 because it's in a graphic novel format exclusively for Indiegogo. You can get the soft cover. You can get the PDF. You can get mini prints. You can get maxi prints. Those are full-size posters. You can get the regular cover, but in hardback, or you can get this beautiful hardbound variant cover. There are only 50 of each of the hardcovers available, so don't sit on this because they won't last long. Because, well, there's only 50. You can get a cameo in the book for $250, plus everything included, and you can get a speaking cameo, although we don't know how long that will last before she kills you. And if you do want to die, you can put in a special request. And there are 2 big tiers because everybody likes original art. You can get a commission from the artist, 11 by 17, 1,200 USD. And there's 2 of those tiers, just so Jim could show you. One comes with cover A of the hardbound, plus the soft cover, all the swag and stretch goals and, anything else he can find short of a kitchen sink to toss in to show his appreciation for that. And the same. So there's basically 5 of each hardcover available on this tier with the art. It's an 11 by 17 piece, and you choose the cover of the tier that you want, and away you go, and you will have a commission from the artist and all the books and swag.
That sums it up nicely.
It's almost like I've talked for a living before. So I want to thank Jim very much for coming and hanging out with all my wackiness, and I was very happy to have drawn a line in the sand with the Adam Calhoun and Upchurch song, which is basically the point of this book. Digging 2 graves.
I thank you for having me on, man. It's been really fun.
I hope you had a good time, and I hope we can help get more eyes on this. And I know there's so many streams going on all at the same time. At one point, everybody was going live between 7 and 8. So I started going live at 9, and then everybody started going live at 9.
Well, you're a trendsetter.
So it's like, look, let's block him. So most of my watch hours are all, people catching the replay when they have time, and the downloads and listens on podcast platforms. I have about between unique listeners, that's just people that use the app to listen, and people that actually download. The downloads are quite a bit higher than the unique listeners. But I've got, on any given 30-day period, like 150 to 300 people downloading the podcast. So
nice.
So people will be hearing about this, and we will keep sharing the word. Every time I see you share it out on Twitter, I will, of course, reshare it. And once this is up on the podcast platform, and I get the notification from Spotify, I will start sharing this out. I will post the podcast link on Facebook, Twitter, Indiegogo, and usually about a day or so after it posts to my Facebook and IG story. I make a reel and throw a little bit of music in the background on Instagram, so it gets seen by even more people. So,
well, I can't wait to see.
So we will see what we choose for music. It might be that song that we heard in the beginning.
Yeah, that was great. I said I'm not familiar with them, but that was perfect.
I've been listening to a lot of indie artists, and I'm like, I see a motif here: indie comics, indie music, and apparently they do not want me to see the new Indiana Jones movie because they've replaced Harrison Ford with a woman.
I'll have to look into that.
That was just something that I saw go up, which could just be like a spoof meme or something. Really hoping it is, but who knows. But we want to thank everybody for tuning in. Jim, why don't you tell everybody where they can follow you besides the campaign? Because if they follow on the campaign, they will get notifications every time you launch a new thing or post any updates as well.
So yeah, you can find me on Facebook either as Jim Tanner, just chat me up there. I also have SN Comics on the Facebook group. Under Twitter, we have SN Comics Art. You can reach out to me there, or we are on Instagram at Sketchy Nuke. So, and then of course I have the link tree on pretty much a lot of the stuff, so it makes that easier for a lot of people. I think it's link tree is SN. Oops, I'm trying to use a mouse that's not working. And trying to pull it up. It is 2 seconds. Linktree/SN Comics.
Cool. So find Jim everywhere he's at. If you hit up the link tree, you can stalk him. I mean, follow him everywhere, and definitely get your eyes on this book. Check it out for yourself. It's no matter which version you decide to pick up, go for the hardcover. It's going to be a great read. Like it says 80 pages. Jim says it's at least 84 because there's going to be some cool behind the scenes stuff and some art and possibly a peek into what is coming next. And so check it out for yourself. Great project, amazing art, very cool stuff coming out. And we thank you very much for being here, Jim Tanner. Great meeting you. And we hope to talk to you again very soon in the future.
Thank you for having me.